Okay, we are officially on air. This is Don the Idea Guy, and
Happy holiday.
And we've been wanting to do this for a while, which was to create a customer service podcast. We always have so many opinions on the customer service that we've experienced when we go out and about every day. And we're both into customer service. We both have jobs where we serve either internal or external or both in our jobs, right?
Right. And we've had both experience in sales and customer service.
And we've experienced some phenomenal sales and phenomenal customer service interactions and some dismal customer service interactions, usually within the span of hours of each other. And it's like, you know what, every time something like that happens, like, we should podcast that. We should blog that. I'm totally blogging this. And then we don't do it. So today, Happy had made the mention that, she really wanted to do the blog, and I'm sitting in front of the computer, and I thought, you know what, we haven't done a Spreaker podcast for a while, so maybe we just need to start one of these. How do you feel about that?
I love that idea. I know we eat out a lot, we shop, we travel, so we have a lot of interaction with different folks for different reasons, either for fun, for business. So we have a lot of experiences, both personal and professional, and I think it's fun to have the opportunity to sound off on some of those.
Yeah, because it's when you're there, you let them know they did a great job by a tip you leave, or a tip you don't leave if they did a horrible job. But I always feel kind of guilty about that. I want to leave them some kind of minimum because I waited tables. I get that can be a problem because the servers get paid less, but a lot of these guys just don't seem to care at all, and it's sad. Lots of times I'll give them a minimum. I'll give them like the 15% tip, and then I'll just write, I was extremely displeased with my service here.
Yeah,
and then I don't go back in there for a while.
You're much more generous about that. I guess my take on it is that, especially if you're earning your living through tips, that you should be cognizant of the fact that your attitude and your service directly affects your pay.
It's one of the only jobs where it does,
there's a direct correlation. So I wonder how many of those folks that make a lot less than they would prefer, especially, on commission or tipping wages, really blame the other person.
Oh, it's always the table, right. Oh, a bunch of jerks, or they judge you when you come in too. I mean, I've dealt with enough customer service people to know that a lot of them see customers as an interruption rather than as their paycheck in every industry, not just restaurants. In every industry, customers you're interrupting me rather than, oh, you're the reason I'm here.
Right.
So within the span of 24 hours, we had an incredibly bad customer service example that we might hold off for a show all by itself. But today seemed like an especially good time to start, because rather than create the show that bitches about how bad it was, today was just this phenomenal day that we had out, based on the title of the show as it stands right now, at Easton Town Center. We went out there today to start the day with brunch and do a little shopping, and every place we went into, they were just crazy awesome today, which never happens.
They were on today and really, giving their all and putting forth the kind of effort that you would hope you always receive every time you go in a store to dole out your hard-earned money.
And not like it was forced.
No.
They were having fun, and you weren't just singled out as the person they were treating well. We heard them waiting on the other people, and they gave them the exact same level of service. Right. But you still didn't feel slighted, and it wasn't a shtick. I mean, it was sincere. So, let's dive in and start with our first stop there, which was Flipside-Burgers, right? We stopped there for lunch, and when we went into the place, we'd been there one other time. I'd been there one other time. You'd been there for lunch before, but we had a horrible table. The food was fantastic, but the table was really bad because it's a weird angle by the kitchen. Everybody has to pass that table, whether they're going to serve a table because they work there, or people are passing it on the way to their table, or they're going to the restaurant. It's a terrible table, and they need to just get rid of that table.
Right.
And they tried to seat us at the table. And I said, no, we had that one last time. Could you give us another one? And they gave us a great table.
Right. She did.
I think they try and pawn that one off on you right away. Like, it's your first time here, let us sit you at the bad table. Which, to me, the strategy should be sit the people the first time they're at an awesome table, not that table's horrible. They need to get rid of that table.
Yeah, that table in particular was difficult just because they can't even seat 4 people around each of the sides of the square table. They have it automatically set up for 3 people, I think, because they know that it's right there at the kitchen.
But you can only fit 2 people there.
But
those people have to sit on the same side, and what they do is basically they move their table or hold on to their food when everybody brushes past their table.
Right.
It's a horrible table. They need to get rid of it.
But to focus on the positive.
Yeah.
So today, automatically there's an opportunity. We came in, they tried to seat us at the table we had an unfavorable response to previously. But, they didn't miss a beat. When we asked to be moved to a different spot, there was no rolling her eyes or
I think she knows. She knows she can't give that table away. If they said, what would be great is like that's the half off table. You know what? We know this table sucks. If you want to sit, it's buy one get one.
Well,
your friend eats free.
You remember who did have?
Yeah,
that?
Who was that?
That was Quaker Steak.
That's right.
Had that table, that awkward table in the corner.
Yeah, it's kind of out of the way, but it's not. It's a better table than the one at Flipside. But literally above the table, it says, "This is the worst table in the restaurant." And if you sit here, what was you get like $10 off or something?
10%, I want to say.
Yeah. But it was awesome. Now the server did not point it out.
Right.
We saw it.
But they honored it.
They did honor it, but it would have been funnier if they'd seated us there and said, "This is the worst." But that was, here's a weakness, right?
Right.
And they turned it into a fun strength to go, seat me at the worst table of the house. Right. And I could see that happening there. Like if you sit at that table, you get free dessert.
Right.
If you sit at the table, you get a free appetizer. Drinks are on us. If you sit at the table, you get a free drink.
Exactly.
They could turn that terrible, horrible, dismal table that nobody wants to sit at into a strength.
Because there's always going to be one.
Okay.
I mean,
All right, so let's shift gears because we spent way too much on that table. But it's a horrible table, Flipside. You know who it is. You know which table we're talking about, Flipside. It is a terrible table. Okay, now, they sit us in one of the best tables because it's by a window. It's got the high bank seat against the back, and you like that because you totally took that seat.
I did. I totally took the booth side.
So then comes over to the table our server, and what was his name? Max. So why don't you go ahead and lead off with our experience at Flipside with Max?
The thing that you have going on, Don, is that you always like to get the recommendation from the server, and you kind of put him on the spot.
Insist on it. Yes, I do.
You kind of put him on the spot, and so it's really obvious as the customer if they have eaten there before, if they even like their own food, and a lot about the personality too. If they have an opinion, if they have any sense of humor. And I think just by asking the question, "What do you recommend?" surprisingly throws people off their game sometimes.
Shouldn't that be the one question you're prepared to answer?
It should be. But it seems like only about half the people really are ready to answer that question. And then when they do, sometimes they give a really awkward response.
Yeah, it's incredibly awkward. Like, well, it depends what you like. Assume I like anything.
Right.
Or respond, well, if you like chicken, then you should get this one. It's the best chicken dish we have.
Yeah.
If you like steak, then get this one. Or what are you hungry for? Seafood then give me your favorite one for each one if I don't know.
If you're vegetarian, if you're trying to eat healthy.
I'll even give them an out to say
junk food.
That's where I was going with it, right? The junk food. I would give them an out to go, well, whatever you do, whatever you order for your meal, save room for the dessert because the chocolate cake is awesome. I mean, set me up for that one. Pre-sell me on, oh man, I gotta conserve some stomach space so I can get there's about 50 different ways I can answer that question. The worst way to answer is, I don't know. Well, I don't know what you like. How would I recommend it? Well, I thought maybe a burger. Well, all our burgers are good. Really? You don't have the burger on the menu that's horrible? Oh, order any burger except this burger, which I'll still take as a recommendation.
Right. But Max was
I didn't even have to ask Max.
No, he was on it. He was ready. He was funny from the get-go. Came up to the table, friendly, outgoing, just, a lot of energy right off the start.
The other thing I like is the servers now have hired consultant. The restaurants have hired the same consultant. The consultant goes, they will have a horrible dining experience unless you begin their visit with, have you been here before?
You love that question.
I hate that. That is the worst. That is the worst question. I know they're being trained to it. And it's a horrible question. But have you been here before? But Max asked the question, right. But then his response, we go, yes, we have, because now we're going to wait for the spiel was, oh, then I'll save you all that time.
Right.
You already know the food here is awesome. Or you wouldn't have come back. That awesome. Great response. And then he was going to save us the blurbage, but he wanted to tell us about two of the specials that weren't on the menu because he assumed we could read.
I love
what was on the menu.
I love that. So, it's worth if you have a favorite thing to highlight. But he did a really good job of customizing his response to our individual experience.
And he had the two specials and the one he had obviously tried and thought it was good.
Exactly.
And which one was that?
I don't remember what the other one was because it wasn't the one I got.
It wasn't the one you ordered, yeah. But you ordered the one he didn't try.
Did.
He had not tried yet.
I did. And his response was really interesting because he said, you'll have to let me know how that is.
And then he came back and checked.
He did. He honestly came back and followed up and wanted to see what I thought, which as a customer is really a unique experience for me. Normally it's them trying to sell you on something, but he totally took the opportunity to spin it around and have me sell him the benefits of the food that I was having at the restaurant, which was
I don't know if you caught it. Did you catch him talking to the table behind us when we were leaving?
No.
He went over the specials and he said I had not tried the what was it?
It was the crab cake.
Crab cake burger.
Yeah.
So he was telling the people at the table behind me when we left, he did the specials and he goes, well, I haven't tried this one yet, but the woman at the other table ordered it and she said it was really good.
And it was, yeah. We eat out a lot. So I've had enough experiences and with crab cakes in particular, to be able to tell him what I thought was really good about it, what maybe was a little messy about it because it was so much crab and not a lot of breading, so it's kind of oozing off the sandwich a little bit.
The problem was there was too much crab meat in the crab.
It's a horrible experience.
So thumbs up on that
problem to have. But
thumbs up on that dish, but his follow up on it was
fantastic.
great, and then he used your recommendation to recommend it to another customer because that's the other thing you want to hear when you go there. You know what? I haven't tried this dish, but everybody loves this one. When we went to Firebirds. They had not tried it, but she told me what the most popular dish was. Right. So, I'll accept it as a fair substitute. I think as a server, you should be working your way through the menu. Yeah. Try it. Max was definitely working his way through the menu. And he had
definitely was.
Distinct favorites. And even if he didn't know it, he could say, I've heard good things about it. And in our case, we literally heard him use you as the reference for another person who came in to eat. Yeah. The other cool things for me, it's a real easy pass-fail on whether I'm going to like the customer service or not if they keep my glass full.
Right.
So Max was all over the refills on the iced tea.
And even when you jokingly said, you could just bring a pitcher, he actually responded by bringing you a pitcher, which we proceeded between the two of us to drink the entire pitcher of tea. So
the other strong point on that, especially with iced tea, is he came back with more ice for the glasses.
Yes.
Because as soon as you pour the tea into the ice, it's half gone, and then you're just drinking not iced tea, you're drinking melted iced tea.
Yeah.
And he came back with more ice.
And that's particularly important for me because, as you know, I love ice. So I appreciated that.
Max was outstanding. Just friendly guy, friendly service, and he delivered that service to every single table there.
He did. Okay. He did. He was consistent.
So from there, we went to... where'd we go next?
We went to Tommy-Bahama next.
Tommy-Bahama. So we are getting ready for our wedding in Hawaii next month.
La
Aloha. And I needed Hawaii wear, aloha wear to go to Hawaii. So we went to Tommy-Bahama. And Tommy-Bahama is not an inexpensive place to shop.
It is not.
I did not see a shirt there that was under $100.
It's sticker shock for sure.
Yeah.
But I will say, you get what you pay for, and it's obviously
All right.
quality. But
we'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be my first official Tommy-Bahama.
You want to wait until you wash it for the first
exactly.
time.
Yeah, until I wear it.
Reserving judgment.
So we go in there and they did not assault us. I appreciated that. It's like, what are you looking for? We didn't get any of that stuff. There were 2 women working. I didn't catch their name. No. Okay. One of the customer service people came over when she saw I had my arms full and asked if she could set up a changing room for me. Mm-hmm. And I've never been asked that. So I've had people say, oh, can I put those at the counter, or can I help you find anything? She obviously saw I was finding things just fine because my arms were full. As a smart salesperson, she emptied my arms so I could proceed to fill them back up again, which I quickly did.
Right.
And she took them to the changing room, so when I was ready to try them on, I could go try them on.
Yes.
Also, because I have not worn those clothes before, but I've had Hawaiian shirts, I typically go for a 2X. And they had 2X in some, but in other ones they did not. And she had recommended, one, she went and checked to see if they had other clothes in that size, in the larger size, which I've had when I've asked people in other stores. It's we just have what's up on the rack. Really? So when this rack is empty, there's nothing you're going to replace them with? It's just going to be an empty rack? That's it. That's all we have. So she didn't do that. She went back and checked. And when she came back out and was not able to find the size I'd asked for, she recommended I tried the XLX, which was the taller version. She said sometimes the sizes work that. Now, I've tried those sizes before, and they never work for me. They just end up being tight and long. But it worked the way Tommy-Bahama manufactures their shirts. It worked for 90% of the shirts I was trying.
Yeah, and I did notice and learned through listening when one of the other ladies that was there working was talking to a different one of the customers, explaining that there are 2 basic styles and the way that they do the cuts of the shirt. So one style, the sizes run differently than the other. So I was able to translate that.
Yeah, they had like the regular cut and the medium cut. I saw those on those on the labels. So they left us alone pretty much.
They did. To
just try things on. And then we're ready to check out. They rang up and kept ringing up all the items. And then gave us a gift at the end. She just said, because we were looking at the things on the counter while they were tallying the damage, and they asked if we wanted a candle, one of the candles. Because
we were kind of looking at them, and I
think you are a candle girl.
I'm obsessed about candles, but we were looking, and I think also because we've been talking about our upcoming honeymoon /
I won't go into how much I spent there, but it was a significant amount. I don't know that I've ever spent that much in a store before.
It was significant. It was significant.
And we bought got several shirts, pair of pants, shoes.
Right.
It was ridiculous. But it was that small, and that candle was probably $5.
Right.
Let's Tommy-Bahama, so let's say it was $25.
Right.
Because it's Tommy-Bahama candle.
Right. But I think the thing that you pointed out when we were later talking about this in the car was how wonderful it was that the store itself empowered the employees to make that decision. Because having worked in retail, I can't tell you how many times I wanted to deliver a little extra for the customer, and the rules were against that kind of thinking.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think, and I forget, there's several companies who do this, not enough of them, where they will tell their customer service team that if a problem comes up, they have the power within $500 or within $200 to solve the problem. So if $200 will solve the problem, they're authorized for every customer that comes in to spend $200 to make it right. A lot of hotels will do that. A lot of the nicer hotels will do that. Because that way they don't have to go check with the manager.
Right.
If it's under $200, they can just take care of it. And nothing went wrong with this transaction. The transaction was fine. They were helpful. Ironically, it was good service.
Mm-hmm. It was good
but
service.
from the day, it was the lowest on the scale.
Right.
They were great. They were above average.
Right.
And the gift put it over. So it wasn't that, hey, if something went wrong, you guys are empowered to spend a few bucks to make it better. If a customer came in and spent a significant portion, maybe it's because I was a first-time client because they added me to their list.
Right.
They were empowered to give a little extra. And I think that's strong. That the customer service training people there knew to do that.
Well, and
the clerks
right.
followed through and took advantage. Because I can tell you, hey, give a free candle. Everybody comes in, and you're like, meh.
Right.
But they did it.
They did.
What did you think walking around in there? The store, the way that you saw how they were serving other people. What did you think?
I did.
I was locked in the room putting different shirts on.
I locked you in the room so that you would try on one shirt after another. No. They did a really great job. And it can be difficult, especially when you're in sales for clothing. You have to balance the amount of time that it takes someone to find the right style, the right fit cut for themselves, that thing that they came in for, versus really encouraging the sale, adding on to the sale. I think they did a really good job of balancing that.
They really didn't add a lot of extra on.
I think in our case they didn't need to.
She did suggest other shirts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they did a really good job of balancing the customers' needs
and not assaulting.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was happy with them. I would shop there again just because they let me shop.
Yeah, there are so many times I think they have the idea that they're not servicing their customers unless they're standing right in your face.
Yeah.
Speaking to you right at this minute, which I think, kudos to Tommy-Bahama because they definitely have been trained to give some people some space to make their own decisions, to look through the rack, to find what it is that they're looking for.
They're as laid back as the brand is.
They are. I appreciated that.
All right. So let's go to our last significant customer service interaction because we had a couple other ones, but the last significant one because it was probably my favorite. He and Max Max was awesome. Max was awesome. It was a great way to start the day too. Max was great. Right. I'd like to see more restaurant service like this, but this was a shoe store that just out of left field were like, hey, let's run in there real quick.
Right.
And that's all they have in there is shoes. A couple of bags, but it's shoes.
Shoes and accessories.
Now I'm done. I just spent 2 months salary on Tommy-Bahama. I'm done. My arms are full. It hurts in the wallet. And you're like, let's run in here real quick. I'm like, well, good, because I'm not going to need to spend any money in a shoe store. I already bought a pair of shoes at Tommy-Bahama. I don't need another pair.
Right.
So we go in, and what's the name of the place?
Clark's.
And you've been there before.
Oh, yeah.
Clark Shoes. All right. I don't ever recall walking into the place before.
I've been a long-time customer, and they're really good quality shoes. The kind of shoes that you can keep for...
Had you ever received this level of service before?
No.
What's our guy's name?
Consistently.
Is it Angelo?
Angelo.
All right. Yeah. So we didn't know his name
Angelo.
yet. Uncle Angelo. So talk about it was mostly your day in there. I'll chime in when it's my turn, but you went in to get some shoes.
I did. So I've just started this new job. And I have the opportunity to walk the length of this really long building.
The opportunity. They make you go to meetings on opposite ends of the building.
Well, there's that. But
it's a great attitude, by the way. I get to do it, not I have to do it.
So
I get to versus I got to.
So one of the things I've been thinking, it's been about a week and a half now that I've been on this job. So one of the things that I'm thinking is after my work day is done, one of the things I would like to do is just kind of walk from one end of the building to another. And let me just say, it's an absurdly large building. So a quarter mile from end to end.
Oh, you know that? It's a quarter mile. You know
it is a quarter mile from end to end. So that would be no small thing. And, work shoes for all of us professional ladies, you understand that walking a half mile in high heels is no small thing. So what I really wanted to do was to find some shoes that I could just slip on at the end of the day so that I could easily walk from one end to the next without being in pain.
And you found some.
And I did. I found some, right away. That's one of the
things. Well, the store was busy, too. We walked in, the store was busy, and there were, 3 people working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were all serving people when we walked in, too.
They were. I mean, a typical Sunday afternoon. The store was busy, and I, one of the things that led me there is my previous experience with Clark's. They're a good brand. They're a good, solid brand. They make and build really comfortable shoes, and in the last several years, they've also become more and more stylish, so that they're not just comfortable. They're shoes that you are actually not embarrassed to be walking around.
Okay, and how'd you get approached by the clerk whenever he saw you picking up shoes?
Actually right away, just very friendly, greeted me, talked to me a little bit about what I was looking for. So when I brought him a shoe, of course he kind of introduced himself first, and I, did my typical shoo, go away.
I'm looking.
Let me look. And he did. He was totally cool about that. So I found one that I was looking for and told it. He asked me what size. He goes back into the back room.
I want to interject 1 second. He also asked you if you knew the size or you needed measured too.
Well, that's true.
Which I thought was good.
Yes, because that's one of the things that actually Clark's is known for is that
really?
they still bring out that old shoe measuring, foot measuring device.
But that's cool. So, he asked you.
He did.
And you said, no, I know what size I'm wearing.
Which, ironically...
That's where I was going with it, is because he asked you, and you said, no, I'm good.
But in all fairness, I did end up with shoes in 2 different sizes.
But it's just funny. He asked you, like, no, I got it. Like, and then he brings it out, and the person is like, no, I need another size. And he didn't go, I told you.
No, he didn't. He didn't, and he didn't even,
Didn't even blink. He didn't go, that's why we ask everybody if we can measure their feet.
No.
He didn't do any of that.
No. And he also didn't bring out the embarrassing foot measuring tool to say, well, since you don't know your size, let me help you.
Apparently you don't know your size the way you think you know your size.
Exactly. So, but anyway, where I was going with that was that I handed him a shoe, asked him if he could go get this particular size, but not only does he come back with what I was asking about, he came back with 2 other boxes of similar in style shoes. And what's interesting about that is he knew he didn't have my size in the exact color and style that I wanted. So he brought me, I was looking for black. He brought me a brown pair, and then he brought me another style that was similar in black.
He knew his material.
And then a third shoe that was the half size off, which is where I was able to say, well, this particular shoe is not fitting the same as usual. So he knew in advance that was an issue with that particular shoe style, and, anticipated.
He anticipated. Yeah, that's a big thing in customer services. I don't think enough people anticipate the next question or anticipate the next need. They wait for it to happen over and over and over again, and they're still completely baffled. Because in this same situation with a less than awesome clerk, it would have been, God, I ask them if they want us to measure the feet, and they say no, and I go back and get the wrong size. If they would just let me measure their feet, blah, blah, blah. It's your problem. Yeah. It's your fault, customer, because I asked and you didn't do it. So if you know that that's the problem, like Uncle Angelo did, he comes out with another size and another style. Or he doesn't just come back out and go, yeah, the ones you wanted in that color, we don't have them.
Well, and that's
another one? We don't have those.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So instead of bringing me nothing, he brings me 3 pairs.
How cool.
And amazingly, that turned into a bigger sale for him, because now I'm thinking about what it is that I need a little bit differently. And it's not, any longer about this particular shoe, but it becomes what style, what function are you looking for?
Yeah, because that was a great thing. He asked you what you were getting them for. And then when you said you needed a work shoe and then you also wanted some walking shoes,
right.
He brought you out the walking shoe that you asked to see. And then he brought you out a walking shoe that he personally likes, owns a pair himself,
right.
and recommended to you, and then told you you needed to try them both on and walk around the store because it wasn't just a simple slip-on walking shoe. It was shaped differently, and you would feel it differently.
And what I appreciated about that, and I was a little hesitant because, you know, what they always do when they try to shift the sale like that is 9 times out of 10 they'll bring you something that's twice as expensive.
Oh, well, but I'm not saying that he shouldn't do that. You know, he's upselling you on a higher quality shoe.
You know, that's I see where you're going with that from a sales point of view, but from a customer point of view, sometimes it's so obvious when they do that to you that it's kind of irritating. So what I appreciated was that he at least stayed in that same general price range. It wasn't suddenly, well, here's a fantastic shoe that's 2 times more. And then now I have to do a whole recalculation of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish.
Price had never come up in the conversation. It's not like you were looking on a clearance rack, right. And he came out with a more expensive shoe. When he brought out the first set and it became clear that you were liking, so you're going to have to special order one of them.
Right.
Which he made clear, hey, if we don't have it, we'll order it for you. We'll ship it right to you. There's no shipping cost.
Right.
So if you want that one in black, no problem. You'll have it in a few days. But he brought out that other color, the brown colored one for you, which you immediately fell in love with too.
Right.
And then you still needed the walking shoe. So at this point, we're up to 3 pairs of shoes. And he says, well, when you buy 2 pairs, you get a discount on the second pair. So you were in an odd number. And I go, and that's when I chime in and I go, well, you know, there was a pair of shoes over there. I go, I could get a 4th pair of shoes.
Right.
And then you could still get the discount. And he goes, oh, is there a pair you wanted to see? Which ones? And I forget, between the time he went over to get the pair of shoes, because I'd asked to see 2 different pairs.
Right.
And he came back, you'd already found another pair. So you're already on your 4. So now I needed to buy 2 to get my discount.
Right.
But he managed to juggle both of us.
He did.
Got us what we wanted. Recommended. He went back and recommended another size up. Brought out a similar style again for me because he didn't have the one I wanted in stock, but he brought out another size in a similar style so I could try that out. Right. Talking about the canvas versus a leather shoe and the different ways they fit, because I obviously had been wearing a leather shoe and this was a canvas shoe.
Right.
So he recommended that. Told me that he could order it and drop ship it. It was no problem.
Right.
Anything else we want to talk about the pre-transaction?
You know, I think the one thing that I would say is that even though he had me as a customer,
you were money in the bank already.
And you as a customer, I will tell you, he was still servicing other people. So his attention to not just one customer or 2, but he was still completely aware of the store. And
I think he was helping his other clerks, too, who weren't as experienced. I saw him answering a couple of questions.
He was. So I think that ability to balance, you know, the needs of an individual customer versus the needs of the store overall is also another way that he really showed a lot of strength.
The other thing is he was having fun.
He was.
He would come out, and whenever he would bring the next box of shoes, he would, like, crawl on the ground like a kid. Like he just sat down on the ground, took him out of the box. He wasn't standing above you while you're sitting on the stools trying to put on the shoes. He's down crawling around there on the floor and stuff, pushing boxes aside and getting in other people's way. And he was just having fun.
Right.
So that is very indicative of he's having fun doing his job.
He is.
So the checkout was awesome because we rang out separately.
We did.
He shipped my shoes to where I wanted, and I walked out with 1 pair. And then he rang up yours. We both got rewards cards to click off money the next time we're in.
Right.
And this is another one of those places that has the survey at the bottom of the receipt, because there can't be a store in America anymore that doesn't have one of those freaking surveys at the bottom.
Thank you, Gallup. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh my God. So, and they usually throw it at you with 14 feet of paper down here at the bottom. You could fill that out. That'd be great. But his invitation to do that was hilarious.
It was. It was. And we've been calling him Uncle Angelo this whole time because that's how it stuck with us.
Yeah, he didn't. I didn't know his name during the sales process at all.
No.
It was just up at the register, and he goes, "Hey, we have the survey at the bottom. Could you save money? Did you get some coupon or something if you did it? The survey,
it's like 15% off.
So they do the standard. You'll get a discount if you fill it out." But then he goes, if you've got a few minutes and you got something nice to say about your Uncle Angelo, I'd really appreciate it if you fill it out. That was hilarious.
Yes. And I think you missed what he said to me because he'd already given you that same spiel, right? So he says to me, and if you have something nice to say about your Uncle Angelo, he said, or even if you don't, they'll still give you the 15%, which I thought was really funny and clever because he obviously knew that we'd enjoyed our experience.
He knows he's good at what he does, too.
A good job. So he knew that there would be nothing,
That comes from confidence and experience at what he does. And he obviously had two new customers. Well, one new customer, one revisiting customer that were leaving happy with stuff in their hands and are expecting things within the next 5 to 10 days to have shipped to them too.
Yeah. And he was knowledgeable too about that process.
Oh yeah.
One of the things, I've been in there before. I've had them ship things to me before because they didn't have it actually in stock at the store. So it's I personally was aware of that process. But one thing that I really appreciated that was different and distinctive was that he could tell us where our shoes were coming from.
Yeah, that was interesting.
How long it would take for us to get them. And, of course, knowing that that's an estimate and we've both had...
No, but that was a good point because he said I'd probably have mine in 5 days and a pair of yours might take 10 or something because they were coming from different sides of the country.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was good insight to have.
And I really appreciated that because it kind of gives me an idea. And I think what surprised me, too, is that automatically I'm assuming that they're... I had 3 pairs of shoes that were going to be shipped to me.
They were just going to come from one warehouse someplace.
Exactly.
Yep.
But that was actually not the case. So he kind of gave me a little forewarning about that as well.
Yeah.
So that when I got one box of shoes, I was like, where's the rest?
Yep.
So
early on in Zappos, when Zappos first started, speaking of shoe stores, they had deals with manufacturers to drop ship from their facility. They didn't stock any shoes at all. So they would ship from different parts of the country too. So your delivery date was different based on where those shoes were coming from. They ended up going with a warehouse process so that they could cut down their shipping time. Right. But that was interesting that this company here, in the age of Zappos, order them online, you could still go in the store, walk out with some, but then they would still drop ship them for manufacturers as well. The other thing that was cool is when I asked about, well, if I get them and I don't like them, can I bring them back in? And there was no problem at all. There was no hoop jumping or hemming and hawing about it. It's like, no, if there's a problem, you bring them back in. If you don't like them, we'll work out something else. So that was cool.
Yeah.
All right. So those were 3 awesome experiences that we had today. And I think that it's good to start this new podcast / going to be a blog too, on a positive note. So it doesn't just sound like we're unhappy, whiny customers. Right. We can recognize and reward and compliment phenomenal, outstanding service. And today was a great example of that.
Yeah. And I think having that kind of experience, that's the kind of thing, that's the joy of shopping, right?
It's supposed to be a great experience.
That I appreciate that they saw what it means to be the shopper.
It was the experience.
It was. And the fact that, I work really hard for my money. So it's nice to feel like someone really appreciates that when you have to let it go and trade it for something else, that they give you some service in return for that. And
you spend extra for that. You spend more for that.
Yes. I get, they end up with 6 shoes.
Oh my God. Yeah. How many?
Instead of 1. So
did you go in for 1 pair or 2 pairs?
I went in for 1.
So I thought you were going to go for dress shoes and walking shoes. That's not what you walked in for.
I walked in for the walking shoes, but then it was the sale.
Okay.
So automatically, buy one, get one 50%.
So you were going in for 1. The sale sold you on a 2nd pair.
Right.
You walked out with 2 more pairs, right? So a total of 4 pairs for you. I walked out with 2 pairs of shoes that I wasn't going to buy at all, and a belt I saw that I thought was cool.
Exactly. So what started off, kudos. This is the difference when you have
and he kept up.
Great service.
Our need changed from the time we walked in the door to the time we left. Uncle Angelo kept up.
He did.
All right. So I think that's the end. We need to wind down here. Any parting words?
just a big thank you. A big thank you to Max for starting off our journey of shopping today.
Yeah, it was a good way to
really
start.
Well, a big thank you to Tommy-Bahama for putting that little extra in
for
our
your free
bag.
candles.
And
You're thanking them for your free
you know
candles.
What? I love the free candles.
You love the free candles. Okay.
I also appreciated they gave some really great service. So.
And Angela was phenomenal. I mean, I can't think of a time anybody's ever asked me for a shoe store recommendation, but I'm going to be talking about Uncle Angela. That was awesome, and we'll send each one of the stores a copy and a link to the podcast so they can hear us bragging about them. But this was at Easton Town Center in Columbus, Ohio. I'm sure there are stores and branches of other ones that may be equally good, or maybe they're not. That's what we're going to explore and go on this journey in the different customer service here in the podcast that we're doing. So today we had 3 heroes. That was a good way to start out, and we'll see if we can do this maybe weekly and maybe chime in online with a complimentary blog post that goes with some of these in between if we have something to brag about. But they certainly give us plenty of material to work with, right?
There's a lot of material out there to work with.
Okay. All right. Until next time, I'm Don the Idea Guy.
And happy holiday.
And we'll see you in your store.